Hello everyone, Storm101 here. Today we'll be having a little recap of the winter storm that went from parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. That went all the way up into parts of New England states as well. We'll have a short recap on that. Plus, our next system will bring the chance for some ice accumulations across parts of the Midwest, even for parts of the Northeast as well. Could bring in a low end flash flood risk across parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, and maybe a low end risk of some strong to severe storms across anywhere from eastern Texas up to Arkansas. We'll also talk about a little bit of long range forecasting as well. Before we get started this video, if you guys do like weather related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff all the time on the channel. You can always look into the previous videos um, as well. But since we got out of the way, let's first talk about a very short recap of what happened here over the last day or two. So the time I'm making this video here, really this snowstorm will be pretty much about out here from the New England states. It sure brought some major issues, especially in Kentucky, where we had quite a bit of snow. And if you guys are interested, in my own backyard, I got a little over 8 inches of snow, but there were some other areas that got closer to 10 inches of snow. A little higher than forecasted, but you know what? I'm not complaining too much about it. However, it did cause major issues. Guys might have heard on the national news already that we had a couple pileups. Portions of some of the parkways and the interstate highways were closed as well. It's one of those situations where you got known as a perfect storm. And what that is that you had a heavy snowstorm event, and with that combination, you had heavy traffic at the same time as well, which led to some major issues there as well. If you guys want to see my experience with that heavy snowstorm, I got a two-part series in the script. Two-part series here, me driving through that heavy snowstorm as well. It also includes that heavy band of snow that went through the area as well. That's what made our snowfall totals get higher. You had snowfall rates that were between 1 to 3 inches per hour, which is a pretty high snowfall rate as well. So if you guys are interested, I'll add that two-part series in the link in the description down below. You guys could check it out down there as well. I've also heard that the New England states got quite a bit of snow as well, especially around the Massachusetts, Connecticut area. I think the last time I've heard was close to a foot of snow. I believe some areas probably got a little bit higher than that as well. But then again, a lot of snow for them folks as well. So it was certainly a very interesting uh, snowstorm as well. So we got that out of the way. Let's check out the NAM model. Let's talk about our next system, which will be beginning later tonight. Now, if you do live in the Lower Ohio Valley region where you got quite a bit of snow, enjoy it while you can because we're going to have we'll have a surge of milder air. As soon as this high here continues to move off to the east, you get winds out of the south, and that leads to milder temperatures across the region as well. You see here as we go throughout the night, our high pressure system does move into the mid Atlantic, so now seeing several winds out of the south here. And as we do continue on, you do see precipitation do develop across parts of Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri. Now, this is one of the concerns here, is that we could see maybe a mix of freezing drizzle, maybe a little bit of freezing rain mixed in as well. We're not really expecting this to be a major event or anything like that. However, it will be enough ice to create some problems, mainly on the roads. This is not going to be like a major ice storm or anything like that. It's just going to be a minor, just really just a minor icing event. You maybe talk about at max, maybe 5/100ths of an inch, maybe a tenth of an inch of ice. That'd be very isolated. So then again, it won't be much. However, it'll be enough to put a glaze of ice, especially on untreated road surfaces as well. So that's really the main concern we got with that as well. And then again, not expecting anything major. Next threat that I want to talk about is the flash flooding risk. You do have some heavy showers, maybe a couple thunderstorms mixed in with that as well. Adding on top to what you already have with snow on the ground here, especially across parts of central Kentucky where we experience a lot of snow. Basically, you have maybe about half an inch of rain on the ground right now. And And wherever all that does melt, all the grounds are going to be saturated, and it's not going to take much of any more water. So, and you got a forecast on Sunday of generally 1 to 2 inches rain. Maybe some places could get over 2 inches of rain, and that could lead to a minor flood risk out there as well. And then again, that won't be a major risk or anything, but the potential is there. We could see some flooding issues across parts of Kentucky and Tennessee as well. At around the same time, though, there could be some severe weather issues across parts really anywhere from eastern Texas up into central Arkansas, which if we do check out this SPC outlook for tomorrow, you do have a marginal risk. I think it's a low end risk. One of your main threats is going to be hail. Damage winds, that'll be mainly focused in southeastern Texas, and also includes with your low end tornado risk as well. And then again, it's a pretty low risk, but it's not zero. So really, the severe weather risk is pretty low for that type of setup as well. The system would continue to move off to the east, but check out the northeast. This is my next main concern, which I think this would be the biggest one to watch for. This will be a little bit more impactful. Is that we'll have a round of some freezing rain. This could lead to some pretty decent ice accumulations up there as well. And it can also lead to some snow across parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Maine as well. Really, it's going to go throughout the day on Sunday, and then after that passes through, you do get some snow flurries, snow showers, mainly from the Great Lakes out there as well. But let's talk about them ice accumulations. First area would be parts of the Midwest, and you can see here not much of ice is expected, but maybe at max could be 500ths of an inch. There may be some areas that get closer to a tenth of an inch of ice, but then again, we're not expecting any major problems. And that potential could extend all the way up to southern Michigan. So then again, it'll be enough ice to have some travel issues, especially for untreated surfaces as well. It'll be a glaze of ice. It'll be almost like an ice skating rink if you're going to have roads that are untreated. Yeah, chance it would be like an ice skating rink. So the roads will be slick out there as well. So just to keep in mind of that. But I think the more impactful area will be across parts of the Northeast. If we check out the NAMO for ice accumulation, you can see here, it does show a lot of ice on this map here, but really in reality, these models are all been overdone when it comes to ice accumulation. So make it take off a tenth of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of ice, and that could be your forecast. And even though taking off that much ice, there's still going to be some pretty decent ice accumulations. I think it's going to be some areas could see anywhere of a tenth of an inch of ice, and I think at max it's going to be 2/10 of an inch. There might be very isolated areas that could get close to a quarter of an inch of ice, but again, I think this is very isolated. With consider an ice storm is a quarter of an inch of ice or higher, so we're not quite at ice storm criteria with this event, but the potential could be there for maybe a low end ice storm event. But either way, here, there will be some ice accumulations. Not going to be expecting to see any major power issues or tree damage. However, the roads will likely be slippery out there as well. Here's the high risk NAM. And you can see they're pretty similar. And then again, take off maybe a tenth of an inch to two tenths of an inch of ice. And that could be a forecast. And then again, some ice accumulations. Seems like a pretty good bet across parts of Pennsylvania. And that could go all the way up into parts of New York and eventually up into parts of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and also Vermont as well. This is the weather predictions probabilities here. So this is for the rest of today. Well, pretty much tonight. Really, I pay attention to those blue colors. I think that's where we have the best opportunity to see at least 110th an inch of ice. And then a tenth an inch of ice seems very unlikely. So then again, not a whole lot of ice is expected from really the Ozarks, from well, from the Ozarks all the way up into parts of Illinois, Indiana as well. As we do continue on though, your ice risk does expand a little further to northeast. Then again, pay attention to the blue colors. That's where we can see the better opportunity to see, some ice accumulations. But you do notice here, probabilities really increases, especially in Pennsylvania, which if you go continuing throughout the day on Sunday, you got a very high chance to at least see 1/100th of an inch of ice. But if you check out a 10th of an inch of ice, you still have pretty good probabilities out there as well. But ice storm criteria, it's slim to none. So we're not really expecting much wave an ice storm out of this. Likely stay below ice storm criteria, but either way, there'll be some decent ice accumulations out there. It will be enough to create some road hazards out there as well. We could probably see widespread winter weather advisories across a good chunk of the Northeast up there as well. So that's something we do need to keep an eye on as well over the next couple of days. And that could expand all the way up into parts of western Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and southern New Hampshire as well. And you can see here as we can continue on for that time frame as well. But really, after that system, things do stay a little bit more on the quieter side. So let's talk about the long range here. So this is for the next 7 days, and it's not a very impressive pattern or anything like that. Probably some milder air across parts of the western, maybe across parts of the southern U.S. as well. Certainly colder air, it's going to be more in across parts of the northeast and the upper Midwest as well, which you do see here for temperature anomalies. It's not very impressive out there. It's also not a good setup for active weather for pretty much about anybody. There could be some active weather across parts of the Northwest, but really I'm just not seeing a whole lot of active weather. I do believe these above normal precipitation anomalies are from the first storm system, so probably when that gets out of the way, it will have a drier look. So then again, it's not a very impressive pattern at all for any active weather. So it's like we're going to see on the quieter side. But things do look interesting as you get to days 8 through 14. You do see some troughing across the eastern U.S., but you also do notice there is a big time ridging off the west coast, so that could lead to warmer temperatures across the western U.S. and even up into Alaska as well. There is some blocking near Greenland as well. It's not necessarily a blocking pattern, but it is just enough that some colder air could sneak in to parts of the eastern U.S., which if you do look into temperature anomalies, it's not very impressive with that. I mean, you still got Greenland missing, so it's not very surprising that the blockade pattern is not very impressive. However, to kind of take to these temperature anomalies into account, there's still going to be some colder air in place. So there is a potential for a couple systems out there as well, which may be a little bit easier to tell from the precipitation anomalies here. You do see here, there could be an active storm track, maybe across the Gulf of Mexico. Could be some active weather across Florida. It looks like it kind of stays off the East Coast, maybe until the New England states up there as well. So, not a very active setup or anything like that in nature, but we'll keep an eye on that as well. But, days 15 through 21. Now, this is getting into mid to late January, which this is a little bit of an interesting time frame, got to say. And this could change. Keep in mind that, so you might want to take this as a grain of salt. But anyway, you do see some ridging across Alaska, big time ridging up there. You got quite a bit of troughing across parts of the central and eastern U.S. This would be a pretty good setup here for some lows to go from the four corner states that could go through the desert southwest, through the southern plains, eventually through the Tennessee Valley, just to the north of that, especially when you get just north to the Gulf of Mexico. You could see some pretty good winter storms out of the setup here as well. But then again, it's a little far out, so it could change. And also to keep in mind, the Gulf of Mexico is very warm, so you do have a pretty good moisture supply. And also, I think, in my opinion here, I think precipitation anomalies may be a little bit underdone here across the southeast. I think there's going to be more moisture to work with a setup like that as well, especially when you got well above normal sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico as well. But again, it's a pretty interesting pattern, and it will be something to watch for now. Let's check out the GFS ensembles here for a preference, and right now for the current pattern, it's not a very active pattern, but as you do get deeper into mid-January, things do look a little bit interesting. You got ridging over parts of the northeastern Pacific, so that can lead to milder air across the western U.S. You also do have some blocking in the AO region and the NAO region. So you do have a little bit of a blockade pattern, but the GFS Ensembles does have uncertainty with the troughing, but honestly, if we're going to see blocking like this, there's likely going to be some colder air somewhere in that area. Which, if you do look into temperature anomalies, there is some colder air situated a little further north here, more focused in the northern plains. But as time goes by, that colder air does expand a little further south. This is actually a pretty good agreement this far out, especially when you get temperature anomalies like this. That's a pretty good signal right there as well. So mid to late January could be a little bit interesting as well. We could go back to a colder and snowy pattern across parts of the central and eastern U.S. So it would be something interesting to watch as well. Which, if we do check out the GFS Ensembles with the tail connections, which this is the NAO, we're going to stay on the slightly positive side with the NAO. But you do notice here, as we do get to mid-month, mid to late January, things do turn a little bit more on the negative side. If that trend does continue, you know what? That can mean some ridging over Greenland. If you check out the AO region, it's actually pretty similar. You do notice there, then again, it goes to a negative AO, which also leads to some ridging around the Arctic Circle for up north. That'd be your Arctic Oscillation. And with your P&A, it actually stays slightly on the positive side. So if trends do continue, this could be a pretty decent blockade pattern, and this could lead to the potential for a colder and snowy pattern. Now, I'm saying potentially because things can change. We're still a little ways away from the event, but really between now and then, overall, I think the pattern will stay quiet probably until January. But either way, it'll be something to watch for now. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, hit the comment section down below. Or if you guys have questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.